My mother, who favored boys over girls for most of her life, became paralyzed unexpectedly at the age of 50. My younger brother, her beloved son who lived off his parents, never took up his responsibilities. I, unmarried, took care of her alone for 20 years until she passed away, unknown to anyone. My mother was reborn after her death, returning to the year when I was 18. Shirley, did you actually buy a new phone during the summer break when I returned home? The corner of my new phone accidentally peeked out of my pocket and was spotted by Benny, who was watching TV on the sofa. He dropped his chips and dashed over to me in one swift motion, snatching the phone from my pocket and excitedly examining it from all angles. Alarm bells rang in my head, sensing trouble brewing. What are you doing? Give it back. Hee hee, it's mine now. Benny tried to unlock the phone with a few passwords, all incorrect, then forcefully demanded I unlock it for him. In desperation, I said, I bought this with the money I earned from my part-time job. You can't take it. I want it, and I will have it. Hee hee. Don't you have your own phone? Why do you have to take mine? This phone, which I had bought with money earned from long hours of part-time work, was not something I was willing to just hand over. Besides, Benny, still in high school, already had the latest iPhone model. My phone was just a 2,000 yuan device. But he had a habit of taking my things, even if he didn't need them. What's wrong with having two phones? I suppressed my anger. Give it back, Mom, Mom. Hearing him call our mother, my heart sank. From childhood, whatever Benny wanted, our parents would go out of their way to fulfill, especially if he took an interest in my belongings. It wasn't as if I hadn't resisted before, but my protests only resulted in scolding and punishment. You're his older sister. Why can't you give in to your brother? How can you be so thoughtless, you foolish girl? You'll get married someday, and the Lin family will have to rely on your brother. Don't even think about comparing yourself with him. I had heard these words countless times. Watching my defeated expression, Benny started to laugh triumphantly, making faces at me. I was so angry I trembled, wishing I could slap him across the face. Slap. A crisp sound rang out. And Benny's face indeed received a hefty slap. I widened my eyes in shock. Benny, clutching his face, also widened his eyes. You scoundrel, how dare you take your sister's things? Give it back now. Out of nowhere, Mom appeared from the bedroom, and after slapping Benny, she stood with one hand on her hip and the other pointing fiercely at the phone in Benny's hand. This ferocious expression, one I had seen countless times growing up, had always been directed at me. This was the first time I saw Mom lash out at Benny. Mom, you hit me. You actually hit me for Shirley. Benny was still in shock, yelling and questioning our mom. Slap. Another slap landed on the other side of Benny's face. Mom's anger intensified. Yes, I hit you. And who allowed you to call your sister by her name? From now on, address her respectfully as sister. My jaw dropped. From the age of 7 or 8, Benny had always addressed me by my first name. Who in the family didn't know? But it was tacitly accepted, having been coddled from a young age. Benny was not accustomed to such treatment. Once he realized what was happening, he burst into tears, screaming and furiously threw my phone to the ground. I won't. If I can't have this phone, neither can Shirley. After yelling, Benny ran into the bedroom and slammed the door so hard it made me shudder uncontrollably. I looked at the shattered phone screen, heartbroken, and quickly knelt down to pick it up. While calculating the cost of replacing the screen, I wondered why Mom was acting so unusually today. Shirley, forget about the phone, we'll get a new one. I looked up incredulously, meeting my mother's tender and compassionate gaze. My heart skipped a beat. I admit, seeing Mom like this was nice, but it was so sudden that I was not used to it and began to wonder if I was dreaming. Mom pulled me up, examining me from head to toe with a look in her eyes that I couldn't quite understand, uneasily. I let her gaze over me. Wait, was I seeing things? Was she crying? She touched my hair as if talking to herself. It's good, Shirley doesn't have any gray hair. I'm only 18, just started college. Of course, I don't have gray hair. She then touched my hand. Your hands are still soft, no calluses. Well, I just do the dishes every day. It's not enough to cause calluses. She touched my back. Your back isn't bent, it's nice and straight. I frowned. I'm not an old woman. Why would I have a hunched back? I couldn't hold back anymore. Mom, what's wrong? Mom wiped her tears and squeezed out a smile. Nothing's wrong, darling. I just woke up from a nap and heard your brother screaming. Your father and I have spoiled him too much. Don't worry, he won't dare to steal your things again. If he dares to act like today, I'll teach him a lesson. As she spoke, Mom deliberately raised her voice towards Benny's bedroom. Bang! Something in Binny's room fell. Mom smiled at me again, softly saying, "Shirley, I'll give you 10,000 yuan, you can buy whatever phone you want." After speaking, she patted my hand and turned to pick up a rolling pin from the kitchen before heading to Binny's room. "Who are you throwing things around for, Mom? Why are you hitting me again?" "I'm hitting you because you deserve it, and if you ever treat your sister like that again, I'll do it again." "Ah, ah," amid Binny's screams. I pinched my thigh. Ouch, that hurt. After Mom disciplined Binny, she really transferred 10,000 yuan to me, but I didn't dare to spend it. I was afraid that when I woke up tomorrow, everything would have changed. Before dinner, Mom specifically came to ask what I wanted to eat, her face full of guilt and remorse. She said, "Shirley, I was wrong before, I didn't pay enough attention to you. What do you love to eat? Mama will cook it for you." Ever since I can remember, I was never allowed to be picky, waste food, or make special requests. But Binny could do all that. Whatever he didn't like, our parents would make me eat. Whatever he couldn't finish, they would pass it on to me. Whatever he wanted to eat, Mom would make right away, or Dad would go out to buy it. No one cared or knew what I liked or disliked. Anything is fine, Mom, I love everything you cook. To be honest, I don't even know what I like to eat. In my mind, I only know what I must eat and what I'm allowed to eat. I can't compete with Binny for the things he wants. Suddenly, tears welled up in Mom's eyes. "Shirley, Mom has wronged you in the past, can you forgive me?" I was completely taken aback. "You must understand, my mom is known far and wide for her fierce temper and strong personality. When such a person suddenly apologizes and softens towards you, your first reaction isn't touched, it's shock. Mom, you don't need to do this." I even started to wonder if I had a tendency to be masochistic. Mom's sudden change of attitude towards me, a complete 180, was really hard for me to adjust to. At dinner, Mom cooked a huge feast, complete with chicken, duck, fish, meat, and a variety of vegetarian dishes, almost as elaborate as our annual New Year's Eve dinner. She came out of the kitchen sweating from the heat but with a smile on her face. "It's good to be able to move around. Shirley, come and eat." "Mom, let's wait for Dad to come back and eat together." Mom pulled me to sit down and started serving food into my bowl while saying, "Eat if you're hungry." Suddenly, Binny burst out of his room, yelling, "Mom, how could you start eating without calling me?" Mom didn't even look up, just coldly said, "Eat if you want." Then she turned to me with a smile. "Oh yes, I also steamed some sticky rice buns for you. I'll go get them." I watched her as she turned to go to the kitchen, and my memories suddenly flashed back to when I was 8 years old. That time, Mom had steamed a basket of sticky rice buns. Binny was holding one in each hand, biting into them, and I happily took one too. But before I could even take a bite, Binny yelled, "You can't eat them, they're all mine," in a fit of anger. I bit into one anyway. Binny, furious, threw all his buns on the floor, crying and saying that I was bullying him by stealing his food. I was punished that day with no dinner, and Binny became even more unreasonable after that. Now, Binny was clearly furious but didn't dare lash out at Mom and instead whispered threats to me. "I've already told Dad about you, just wait until he comes home to deal with you." As soon as he finished his sentence, the door opened. It was Dad. "Dad," Binny cried out with a sobbing voice, sounding deeply aggrieved. Seeing me sitting and Binny standing, Dad scowled and scolded me. "Shirley, your brother and I haven't even eaten yet, and you've already started. Are you asking for a spanking?" He quickly walked over and grabbed the collar of my shirt, trying to pull me up from the chair. "George." I turned around and saw Mom standing at the kitchen doorway, her expression dark and foreboding. Normally, that look on Mom's face was a sign that a storm was about to break. And Binny shrank behind Dad, trying to hide. At the moment, my dad had no idea what was going on. He was gripping me so tightly that I felt like a little chick being picked up by the scruff of my neck, my feet dangling in the air. The next second, my mom's fists rained down on my dad like a hailstorm. "Let go of her, will you? How can you speak to Shirley like that?" Attacking Shirley without even understanding the situation. "What kind of father are you? Have you ever considered Shirley's feelings?" Caught off guard, my dad clumsily released my collar, dodging and yelling, "Joanna, have you lost your mind? Why are you hitting me?" Hey, not the face." But my mom's blows only grew fiercer, and in her fury, she swung at both my dad and Binny. Poor Binny was wailing as if he was being slaughtered. "Why are you hitting me too?" 10 minutes later, our family of 4 sat at the dining table. My dad, Binny, and I were eating in silence, while my mom chattered nonstop. "Shirley, have some fish belly. it's boneless, surely. Try the duck soup I made, how does it taste? You're too skinny, eat more meat, but don't forget the vegetables for a balanced diet. Binny, what do you think you're doing? Your sister hasn't had any chicken legs yet, don't you dare touch them. Binny, seething but not daring to speak, kept making eye signals to my dad, who deliberately turned his face away while holding his bowl. Under my mom's enthusiastic feeding, I felt so full I could vomit. I stood up to clear the dishes as usual, but my mom snatched them away from me. Binny, go wash the dishes. Incredulously, Binny looked at my mom. Mom, you've never asked me to wash dishes before. With an undeniable tone, my mom calmly said, Binny, not just today. From now until you go back to school, you're going to wash dishes every day. Besides washing dishes, you'll sweep, mop, clean the toilet, take out the trash, and wash your own clothes. I was utterly shocked. Normally, these chores were my responsibility whenever I was home. Clearly, Binny was not happy about this. For someone who had been coddled all his life, asking him to wash dishes and mop daily was practically a death sentence. Why, I don't want to. My dad tried to intervene. Honey, Shirley's just come home for the vacation, let her help you like before. Why make the boy? Shut up. What I say goes. Binny suddenly stood up. Mom, if you insist on making me do it, I'll go on a hunger strike. Refusing to eat was Binny's go-to move since he was little. Whenever he screamed, then I won't eat, my mom would immediately give in and satisfy all his unreasonable demands. Being the favored one, he had the privilege to throw tantrums. When I was 13, I once ran away from home. I waited at a street corner 200 meters from our house for 4 hours. As night fell, I dejectedly walked back home. They were having dinner as if nothing had happened. See, I told you she'd come back on her own. We can't keep spoiling that brat. Shirley, you're not allowed to eat dinner tonight. If it happens again, see how I'll deal with you. Mom stood up, took off her apron, and said indifferently to Binny, then starve to death for all I care. That evening, Mom took me to the mall. Clothes, shoes, skincare products, various necessities. Anything she thought I could wear or use, she bought without hesitation. Before going to college, I wore school uniforms all year round. After the college entrance exams, it took several tries to convince Mom to give me 500 yuan to buy new clothes, but it was different for Binny. He had endless brand name clothes, his closet was packed full, and even basketball shoes costing thousands of yuan didn't make Mom flinch when buying them for him. So, usually, I was satisfied when Mom was willing to buy me clothes. But today she went on a shopping spree as if money was no object, which made me uneasy. Mom, stop buying, it's enough. Mom turned a deaf ear, almost as if she wanted to move the entire mall back home. The next morning when I woke up, everything that had happened the day before felt like a dream. Binny tiptoed out to use the bathroom, and Mom was nowhere to be seen. Watch your step, master, over here, take it slow. Mom's voice came from outside, and Binny, as if escaping, flew back to his bedroom. Shirley, you're up, come see what good things Mom bought for you. More purchases. My small bedroom was already packed to the brim. There was absolutely no more space. When the items were brought in, my jaw dropped. A piano. Mom had actually bought me a piano. Shirley, didn't you always want to learn the piano when you were little? Do you like it? There was a gleaming look in Mom's eyes. Her tone even carried a hint of appeasement. Mom, this is too expensive. Moreover, not only does it not fit in my room, there's no place for it in the living room either. I hadn't recovered from this shock when Mom already pushed open Binny's bedroom door. Put it here, masters. Binny, you're swapping rooms with your sister. Start moving now. Mom, why should I switch rooms with her for no reason? You'll switch if I say switch, or do you want me to beat you? Mom's decisions were never up for debate. Half an hour later, the piano was in Binny's room. 2 hours later, Binny's room became mine. Our house was just a 2-bedroom, and my bedroom was converted from a storage room. A single bed and a small desk almost filled up the room, and I had to hang my clothes on a retractable clothes rack. My things were easy to move, but Binny's stuff was just too much. Clothes, shoes, computer, speakers, figurines, decorations. Mom ruthlessly threw them all into a big box for him to sort out. Binny didn't dare yell at Mom anymore and sulked in his room alone. Since he didn't do any chores, Mom simply didn't cook for him, and every time I tried to help Mom with chores, she stopped me. Suddenly, the status of me and Binny in Mom's heart seemed to have switched. He became the child Mom disfavored, while I, inexplicably, became the apple of her eye, even more so than she ever was with Binny. Mom was adamant, if Benny didn't do the chores, she wouldn't cook for him, nor allow him to order takeout. If he dared to eat out, he wouldn't be allowed to come home that night. In just 2 weeks, Benny visibly lost a lot of weight, his spirits constantly low, like a frostbitten bok choy. Under the stern gaze of my father no longer dared to boss me around or to hit me at whim. Whenever he tried to speak up for Benny, he would only face harsher scolding from my mom. She even threw out all the cigarettes at home, forcing my dad to quit smoking. Her reason was that if he continued, he'd get lung cancer before he turned 50. Without his cigarettes, my dad also became listless, until one day, he came home from work, excitedly announcing that the main corporation was organizing a group purchase for housing, allocating quotas to each subsidiary, and if interested, the payment had to be made in full at once. Honey. The welfare house is that development we looked at before, great location, beautiful layout, most importantly, with the group purchase, it's $300,000 cheaper than the market price. $300,000, imagine that. Everyone at my office was buzzing about it today. You should withdraw our savings tomorrow. Our bank balance is just about right. We must secure a spot and get on board with this opportunity. Mom had always complained that our current house was too old and in a poor location, making shopping and commuting inconvenient. She always wanted to change houses, but we never came across the right opportunity. It was either that the affordable ones didn't catch her eye, or the ones she liked were too expensive. With such a great opportunity now, I thought Mom would be thrilled, but when I turned to look at her, I surprisingly found her wearing an indifferent expression. We're not buying. What did you say? My dad thought he had misheard. Mom raised her voice and repeated, we're not buying. My dad started squawking like a scalded chicken. Why not buy? It's such a great opportunity, an opportunity others would kill for, and you're just going to pass. Haven't you always wanted to change houses? Although I wasn't qualified to participate in such significant family decisions, I too thought my dad made sense. Missing out on a chance to save hundreds of thousands seemed like missing the boat, but no matter how my dad appealed emotionally or reasoned with her, Mom remained unmoved. My dad was nearly going mad. Joanna, you'll just wait and regret it. I'll see where you go crying then. But there was nothing he could do. The money was controlled by Mom, and without her consent, it was untouchable. The next day, my dad left the house in a huff without even eating breakfast. That afternoon, Mom's old schoolmate aunt suddenly called her. Joanna, today's the registration day for buying the house. Why hasn't your family's George done anything? Oh, we've decided not to buy that house. We'll look around some more. My heavens, you're passing up such a huge bargain. I told my Patrick he's not allowed home if he doesn't secure a spot. Luckily, he managed to get one and paid in full on the spot. Aunt's husband happened to be in the same company as my dad, and over the years, she and my mom had always been quietly competing, comparing looks, health, husbands, children, living conditions. It turned out Aunt was calling specifically to brag to my mom. Mom, however, didn't engage in her usual sarcastic banter but instead replied with a smile, well, congratulations to you. We don't have the money, so we're not joining in on this frenzy. George earns about the same as Patrick. And you don't have the money. Wow, if I were you, I'd even borrow to secure that house. I've seen that house, and boy, it's fantastic. You might regret this in the future, Aunt said, thinking she had the upper hand as she chuckled and hung up the phone. I couldn't help but ask my mom why she didn't want to buy the house. Mom looked disdainful. Let Helen grab that unfinished house. Unfinished? I looked at Mom skeptically. How did she know? After saying that, Mom clammed up, refusing to say more no matter how much I questioned her. She then urged me to change clothes, mysteriously mentioning she would take me somewhere. After an hour-long taxi ride, Mom brought me to a sales center in the western suburbs. Behind the sales center was a residential area under construction, surrounded by desolate land as far as the eye could see, with no amenities nearby. The sales center itself was almost empty, hardly visited by anyone. I was very puzzled. Mom, you're not seriously considering buying a house here? It's quite far from the city center. In fact, that was an understatement. It was more than just a bit far. It was nearly out of the city. Mom ruffled my hair. You don't understand now, but you will later. The sales consultant greeted us warmly. Ma'am, although there's nothing around right now, in 3 years, this place will. A pretty consultant began to enthusiastically point out the future benefits of the development, attempting to, well, not to hoodwink us, but to highlight the advantages of investing here. Mom interrupted her. I know all that, just show me the floor plans and the current prices. "Ma'am, you really have a keen eye," the consultant exclaimed. Given its distance from the city and the surrounding barren land, the current prices were incredibly low. I watched, dumbfounded, as Mom chose 2 3-bedroom apartments in the best building and immediately paid the deposit without a second thought. The consultant was overjoyed, hardly able to keep her mouth closed. I was flabbergasted. "Mom, aren't you going to discuss this with Dad? He knows nothing." By the time we finished discussing, it would be too late. I nervously swallowed. There was likely to be a big fight between Mom and Dad. Sure enough, when Dad found out Mom had spent $200,000 on those apartments in that desolate western suburb, 2 apartments at that, he was furious. Ranting about having married a foolish wife who squandered money and even threatening divorce. Dad, in a fit of anger, stayed at his workplace for a week without coming home. When Aunt heard the news, she came over, barely concealing her glee, to mock my mom. "Joanna, I'm not trying to criticize you, but if you missed out on the welfare housing, you shouldn't have panicked and acted recklessly," Aunt said. Mom just smiled silently. "What's in the western suburbs? No economy, no development. Anyone with a bit of foresight wouldn't buy a house there. You're just throwing your money away," Aunt continued. Mom remained calm and collected. Aunt went on, "Look how angry you've made George. When your son wants to get married later, which girl would be happy marrying into a family without a decent house?" This time, Mom couldn't hold back. "Who said I bought this for my son? This is for my daughter and my retirement. If my son wants to marry, he can earn his own way." Aunt was stunned, muttering under her breath if Mom had lost her mind from some shock. "I'm perfectly fine, never been clearer," Mom retorted. Aunt snorted with laughter. "Keep talking tough, I'll just wait and see the day you regret this." Then, Aunt left. I was still in shock for a long time. Those 2 houses. Not only did Mom have no intention of giving one to Benny, but she was actually planning to leave one for me. Oh my God, did I hear that right? Mom was acting out of character, and I, the direct beneficiary, couldn't help but share Aunt's suspicion. Had something really affected my mom's mind? Moreover, I was worried that this might actually lead my parents to divorce. Mom seemed to see through my concerns and reassured me. "Don't worry, your dad will be back by next week at the latest." How could she be so sure? But before my dad returned, my grandmother arrived first. After receiving an urgent plea from Benny, the old lady spent $100 to take a taxi from the neighboring county. Arriving full of fury, she arrived when Mom was not at home. Benny, seeing her as his savior, threw himself into her arms, sobbing, "Grandma, you're finally here. My God, my dear grandson, how did you get so thin?" I was in the bedroom and my heart tightened reflexively when I heard Grandma's voice. Then Benny spilled everything, lamenting the inhuman treatment he had suffered recently. Grandma listened, continuously expressing sympathy with cries of "Oh my poor grandson." When Grandma heard that Mom had made Benny do household chores, she was incredulously shocked. "How could your mom make you, a young man, wash dishes and mop floors? Men in our George family are meant for bigger things, not housework." "Grandma, I was actually mopping the floor right before you came. Mom said if I didn't finish, I wouldn't get any food." "What has gotten into your mom? She used to treat you so well, didn't she?" "I don't know. She just bought a house a few days ago. Said it was for Shirley, and I didn't get anything." Grandma's voice suddenly became sharp. "I think your mom has lost her mind. Where is your sister? Get her out here." Feeling a mix of emotions, I timidly walked out of the bedroom and called out, "Grandma." I couldn't help it. I'd been afraid of her since I was little, and, I admit, I really didn't like her. She had advocated giving me away when I was born. At 3, she deliberately let go of my hand in a busy market, and I ended up being brought back home by a passing neighbor. At 9, she took me and Benny to an amusement park but bought only 2 tickets, one for Benny and one for herself, leaving me to shiver in the cold at the entrance for hours, and I ended up with a fever that night. Before my university entrance exams, she even kept telling my parents that it was useless for girls to study so much, better to find a rich husband. Thankfully, my aunt always spoke up for me, which gave me the chance to go to college. At that moment, Grandma looked at me with disdain. "A girl daring to compare with my precious grandson. Shouldn't you be doing more housework at home, learning to cook? That's what's proper. You just watch your brother work. You don't stop him when your mom makes him do chores. Do you even act like a sister? I'm telling you, as long as I'm here, I won't let your mom make such foolish mistakes." What kind of logic is this? Buying a house for a daughter and not for a son. What are you standing there for? Go mop the floor, and then cook for your brother. although mom has been extraordinarily nice to me recently, I'm not deluded. I obediently picked up the mop. There's no winning against grandma. Benny raised his hand. Grandma, look at my hands. They're all calloused. Grandma tenderly embraced Benny, soothing him gently. My poor grandson, you've suffered. While I was mopping the floor, I silently cursed Benny for being so pretentious. Just then, Mom returned from grocery shopping and immediately noticed me slogging away. Shirley, didn't we agree that your brother would handle the chores from now on? I responded with a sheepish smile. Joanna, Grandma, sitting cross-legged, drawled as Mom finally noticed her sitting on the sofa, slightly surprised. Mom, when did you get here? Oh, when did I get here? If I hadn't come, who knows how bullied my grandson would have been. Mom snatched the mop from my hand. Benny, finish your chores. Benny cowered behind Grandma. Grandma, suddenly, Grandma slammed her hand on the coffee table and shouted with commanding force, I want to see who dares make my grandson work today. Despite her age, Grandma's presence was just as imposing as Mom's. Benny and I didn't dare breathe, feeling the tension between them. Grandma, holding Benny's hand, scolded my mom, he's a boy. Why should he do household chores? What are you thinking? He's growing. And you're not even feeding him properly. What if he falls ill from malnutrition? Can you bear that responsibility? And Benny's room, you make him stay in that storage space. It's like a pigsty. Is that a place for people? So, I guess I'm not human then. And another thing, Grandma pointed at Mom. Benny said you bought a house for your daughter, not for him. Is that true? Faced with Grandma's fierce interrogation, Mom remained calm. Yes. Since George put me in charge, I have the authority. What authority? I don't believe my son would allow you to act so recklessly. If you really dare, do you believe I'd convince my son to divorce you? I looked worriedly at Mom, but she just smiled slightly. Suit yourself. Benny, didn't you hear me? Finish mopping. Grandma was so angry she trembled. Dear grandson, come with Grandma. Let's see who can force you to work. With that, Benny found his support, glanced resentfully at Mom and me, quickly packed some things in his room, and indeed left with Grandma. As they left, I could still hear Grandma saying, just wait for your mom to regret this. I assure you it won't be long before she comes to fetch you. After Grandma and Benny left, I was genuinely worried for a few days, fearing that Dad might suddenly return and decide to divorce Mom. But Mom continued her life unaffected, eating and drinking as usual. Turns out Mom was right. Dad came back that weekend, looking disheveled and embarrassed. Shirley, where's your mom? I was watching TV and pointed towards the bedroom. Dad, too anxious even to change his shoes, rushed in. I heard him excitedly shouting, Honey, the developer of that welfare housing. He took everyone's full payments and ran off. The building isn't even finished, and it's already abandoned. It's only been a few days, and everyone at my work who bought those houses was initially so happy. Now they're devastated. They're all talking about calling the police, but what's the use? The money's gone. Patrick and Helen are heading straight for divorce. Patrick claims that he was persuaded by Helen to buy their house and even had to borrow a significant amount of money for it. Thank goodness we didn't buy it, my dad remarked after a lengthy discussion, filled with both emotion and relief, while my mom remained unfazed, as if she had known all along. Still think I'm confused? She asked. It's me who's the real fool here, he admitted. Still want a divorce? He quickly added, a divorce? Why would you say that, dear? Which made my mom laugh, and I couldn't help but join in. I heard my dad say, well, I've realized that owning 2 mediocre houses is still better than losing all our money, as long as they don't end up unfinished. Right then, the local news on TV was reporting, our city plans to invest 65 billion yuan to expedite the Eye of the City project, focusing on high-quality development, high-standard planning, implementation, and management, to push forward the development of the new district. The project, which includes commercial, educational, medical, and leisure facilities, aims to be completed by 2025 and will undoubtedly boost the surrounding commercial and residential areas. The TV screen showed the sales center my mom and I had visited that day, leaving a profound impact on my young mind. My mom appeared to me like a deity. Dad, Mom, come and look. Even before the new year, our home's atmosphere was more festive than the holiday itself. Although my mom seemed calm, I could feel her happiness. My dad, who had been downcast, now walked with his head held high. Ah, Patrick used to mock me so much. Who would have thought the tables would turn? My mom advised him to keep a low profile to avoid envy. Right, you're correct. But thinking about how much those 2 apartments you bought have appreciated, I can't even sleep," my dad exclaimed. My mom gave him a stern look. "Buy another one, and you think I wouldn't have killed you? Besides, do you even have that much money?" Anything my mom said now. My dad wouldn't get upset. Hee, look at you, he chuckled, thrilled to the core, with Benny completely forgotten unless my mom mentioned bringing him back. While out shopping, I ran into Aunt, who quickly dodged us before we could greet her. Despite my mom's advice to keep things low-key, the news that we had bought 2 apartments at a bargain price that had then skyrocketed was soon known by our relatives. My aunt and uncle were the first to visit. "Joanna, how do you have such great foresight?" my mom modestly replied. Just blind luck. Why didn't you think to bring us in on this great deal at the start?" My uncle lamented. "Brother, if I had called you then, would you have joined?" My uncle awkwardly laughed while my aunt quickly changed the subject. "So, your older nephew is about to propose, right? The girl's family is asking for a hefty bride price, and we're struggling to prepare both the bride price and a house," she hinted heavily. But my mom pretended not to catch on. "I've met the girl once, she's nice, I'm sure they'll have a happy marriage," my mom replied, as my aunt subtly coughed, hinting further. "Oh well, that's why we thought we should hurry up and settle this marriage." Mom agreed. "Yes, we need to do it quickly." My uncle couldn't hold back any longer. "Joanna, I'm really tight on money right now, do you think you could help out?" Mom laughed, though there was a hint of distance in her smile. "Brother, sister-in-law, it's not that I don't want to help, but I really don't have any cash on hand since I bought the house." It seemed Mom had made up her mind not to lend the money, and I couldn't understand her tactics. Over the years, my uncle and aunt had borrowed money not just once or twice, and Mom had always been quick to help. Why the change today? When my uncle and aunt left, they looked quite upset. "Joanna, I am your own brother. Don't you care about our sibling bond? Don't you think about the day when you might need my help?" Mom said emotionlessly. "Brother, I will give a generous red envelope for my grandnephew's wedding." When my aunt heard that Mom hadn't lent them the money, she came storming over to confront her. "Joanna, have you forgotten what our parents said before they passed? The 3 of us must support and help each other. His problems are our problems, and we must find ways to assist him." Mom scoffed. "He's a grown man, and whenever he faces a little trouble, he comes to us. What about when we have problems? He just shirks his responsibilities." "I'm tired of being the fool, but he's the only male in our family," Mom interrupted my aunt, continuing the family line. "Sister, don't you find that laughable? Tell me, did we serve our parents any less than he did, who was by their bedside in the hospital, him or us taking turns day and night? Once we women are married, we're considered water thrown out, while men are always treasured, seen as the hope and future of the family. In my opinion, if he can't even fulfill basic human decency, he's worthless." Stunned by Mom's words, my aunt left in a daze. After my aunt left, Mom took the initiative to call my aunt, her sister, exchanged a few pleasantries, and warmly invited her family to come visit us. "Mom, didn't you have a fallout with my aunt last time? Surely, you might not understand adult matters yet." Mom has learned from her losses which people are genuinely kind and which are not. Adversity reveals true friends. Mom was again speaking in ways I couldn't comprehend. When had she suffered a loss? I wasn't aware. Under Mom's influence, Dad's attitude towards me also gradually changed. He no longer called me stupid girl with a sour face, nor did he constantly lecture me to be considerate towards Benny. Oh, speaking of Benny, it seems he's been at Grandma's house for almost a month now, and Mom shows no signs of wanting him back. Once I overheard Grandma calling Dad, "When is your wife planning to bring your son back home? What's the matter, Mom? Isn't Benny happy at your place? Aren't you worried he'll get tired again if he comes back?" "I don't know if he'll get tired, but if he doesn't come back soon, I'm going to be exhausted to death." It turns out that after Benny went to Grandma's, he completely let loose, reverting to his lazy, gluttonous ways. Benny is picky with food, he demands meat at every meal, and if he gets hungry at midnight, he wakes Grandma to cook for him. Benny is messy, he throws used tissues everywhere, leaves towels strewn about, doesn't lift the toilet seat, and leaves crumbs all over the bed. Grandma, who loves cleanliness, could hardly stand it. Every day she had to clean up after him. Benny liked to sleep in during the mornings, so he wouldn't let Grandma listen to the radio. At night, Benny would play video games, blasting the volume no matter the hour. Over the month, Benny gained back the weight he had lost, while Grandma got noticeably thinner. Previously, when Benny visited his grandma's house, it was only for 3 or 4 days, and she didn't mind whatever he did, but this time, the visit was too long. coupled with the fact that he had been feeling cooped up at home, without his mother to supervise, he completely let loose, and even Grandma couldn't tolerate it anymore. She didn't wait for his mother to plead with Benny to return. Instead, she indirectly asked my dad about it. My dad, already tipped off by my mom, said with difficulty, "If Benny comes back, he can only stay in the small room, which would be tough for him." "What's the issue? Didn't you grow up without even a bedroom?" "All four of us crammed into one small room, but if Benny comes back, he can't play video games or sleep in, which will be tough for him. Young people shouldn't stay up late. Going to bed early and rising early is the way to stay healthy. What about the chores Joanna will make him do if he comes back? It's all about balancing work and rest. Besides, doing more chores himself will help him understand others' hardships better." "But, Grandma," losing her patience, shouted. "Enough with the buts, go get your son back home now." Benny never expected that even his beloved grandma would betray him. His last bit of hope was shattered. His mom enrolled him in several tutoring classes, giving him a choice between housework and tutoring. Benny decisively chose tutoring. "Benny, don't say I didn't give you a chance. If your grades don't improve next semester, not only will you have to do housework, but you'll also be making breakfast and dinner every day. Since your grades are poor anyway, they can't get much worse." Moreover, Benny no longer dared to behave as before, snatching my things and bossing me around, and he even awkwardly called me sister from time to time. I don't know why Mom was so firm about Dad quitting smoking, refusing to give in, and Dad painfully completed the process. I spent that summer feeling like it was all a dream. On the day of departure, my mom took me to the high-speed train station, looking exceptionally happy. "Surely, starting this semester, Mom will give you 5,000 yuan a month for living expenses." I quickly shook my head. "Mom, that's too much." I told her that 1,500 was more than enough for me. "The amount is Mom's decision. How you use it is up to you. You're a sensible child. 1,000 times better than your brother." As she spoke, her eyes reddened. She was never one to cry. But the distance and barriers between us over 18 years couldn't be immediately erased in just over a month. I didn't know how to comfort her, or what to say, so I could only remain awkwardly silent. Mom laughed through her tears, wiping them away as she pushed me into the station. "Look at me, crying for no reason. All right, go on, Shirley, study hard in college, make friends, and fully enjoy your own life, and remember, if there's anything, or any time you feel homesick, call me, okay?" I pursed my lips and nodded. As the high-speed train left the platform and the familiar scenery started to fade away, I thought back to just moments ago when I unintentionally looked back and saw Mom stretching on her tiptoes, craning her neck, looking for me. Suddenly, my tears began to fall. The last time I left home for a university thousands of miles away, I felt only the thrill of escape, but this time, did I unknowingly develop a sense of attachment? In my junior year of college, Benny got admitted to a local university, and the whole family was overjoyed. Even Grandma had to admit that it was thanks to Mom's strictness over the past 2 years that Benny was able to get into college, and Benny's bad habits were curbed under Mom's strict discipline. During these years, Mom advised Dad on how to navigate office politics, whom to team up with, whom to gift, and whom to impress. After Dad followed her advice, he was promoted 3 levels in 2 years. And his career prospered immensely. My relationship with Benny also improved significantly during this time. Mom always made it a point to instill in him, "Shirley is your sister, it's your duty to protect her from being bullied. Once your dad and I are gone, she will be your closest kin. If you don't treat her well, who will?" As graduation approached, Dad wanted me to come back home, but Mom said, "Shirley, don't worry about anything. If you want to come home, I support you. If you want to move to another city, I fully support you as well. If you decide to settle down in a city, I'll sell the house we bought for you to provide you with funds to buy your own." Mom really hopes you have your own life, to see you get married, have children, and start your own family. Mom needs to take good care of her health, so when you have children, if you want Mom to help, I'll be there without hesitation. If you find me annoying, I'll just provide financial support. Over the phone, Mom rambled from job hunting to me having children, and I found myself unexpectedly tearing up. For years ago, when I left home for university, I was thrilled to escape the suffocating environment of our home. Now, as graduation is nearing, I could go further away, yet I find myself filled with reluctance and concerns. I don't have grand ambitions. I chose to return home and successfully got a job as a civil servant. Mom was so happy she wanted to throw a huge celebration at a 5-star hotel, but I insisted on keeping it low-key. After settling into my job, Mom started looking for potential suitors for me. Dad didn't understand the rush. Shirley is still so young, what's the hurry? But Mom scolded him for knowing nothing. Good guys are in high demand. If Shirley finds someone decent, they can date for a couple of years to get to know each other well before getting married. Ideally, she'd have 2 kids before turning 30, then I can look after the kids while Shirley focuses on her career. I couldn't help but interject, Mom, I think 1 child will be enough. Without hesitation, Mom replied, sure, 1 is also good, whatever you say. Dad shook his head, that's what you call it, what you young people say, daughter slave. Mom slapped Dad on the back, stop your nonsense. And don't forget the health checkup I scheduled for you this afternoon. Suddenly, a voice message popped up in the group chat from Binny. Mom, I actually won a 3rd-level scholarship, $500. Can you believe it? Your son is making something of himself. I sent a thumbs up emoji in the group chat. Hey sis, isn't your birthday coming up? How about I buy you a lipstick? Mom teased, you rascal. What's the point of a birthday gift if you spoil the surprise? Dad was delighted. Not bad, not bad, the son takes after me, a late bloomer my foot. I've always said this, once he graduates, he needs to find a job and fight for his own house. Don't even think about relying on us. Dad insisted, look at you, being too harsh on Binny, the kid just won an award, and instead of celebrating, you bring this up. Besides, which young person can afford to buy a house on their own these days? Mom countered. Mom and Dad started bickering again. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the new house, warming my body. Suddenly, a phrase popped into my mind, the sun is warm, and the days are peaceful. This was exactly why I chose to come home. Extra Chapter 20. After Mom passed away, I went back to the old house to sort through her belongings. Exhausted, I leaned against her bed to rest and somehow fell asleep. In my dream, I was back in my 20s. Dad had passed away early from lung cancer, and Mom, alone, had used her savings to buy Binny a house, pay the dowry, and cover the wedding expenses. But on the day of the wedding, Mom was in a car accident and woke up paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors said she would never recover. Binny, having just married, said it was inconvenient to care for our paralyzed mother and left her in my care. I couldn't neglect Mom, so I took on the responsibility. To better care for Mom, I rented a 2-bedroom house, but my meager salary couldn't cover the rent, our daily expenses, and Mom's medical bills, so I took on several jobs. Initially, Binny helped out with some money, but over time, he started making excuses. I asked my uncle for help, but he said he had his own grandsons to look after and couldn't do much. Thankfully, my aunt and my other uncle occasionally helped us through the toughest times. The financial issues were minor compared to Mom's psychological struggles. Hearing him call out to Mom, my heart sank. I spent my days wiping her body, cleaning up after her incontinence, massaging her legs to prevent muscle atrophy, trying to make her laugh with jokes, and pretending not to see her tears. We depended solely on each other. Day by day, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, the constant physical and emotional toll turned my hair white and my hands calloused before I even reached 50. I never married. As Mom lay dying, she held my hand, crying like a child. Shirley, I'm so sorry I let you down this life. Every day I pray to God, hoping we'll have another life together, praying for a chance to make things right. Mom, it was my daughter who woke me up. Why are you sleeping while sitting? Be careful not to catch a cold. I was still in a daze, unable to stop thinking about the dream I had. My thoughts suddenly snapped back to that summer when I was 18. An unusual turn of events had changed the destiny of Binny, myself, and our entire family. So, that's how it was. Mom, you're crying. I miss Grandma. But when Grandma passed away, she told you not to be sad. She said she lived a fulfilling life without any regrets. Yes, your grandma did everything she wanted to do. Story 2. I lost my legs while saving Shiniji. 3 years into our marriage, he allowed his friends and family to insult me. When I confronted him, he pressed his brow impatiently and said, they're just stating the facts. At that time, I never begged you to save me. No one ever asked if I wanted to be saved. All the affection I had in my youth turned to ashes in that moment. That night, I mixed sleeping pills into his milk and, while he was deep asleep, I severed his legs. I fell asleep holding him as he screamed in pain. When I opened my eyes, I was back 3 years earlier, before the accident. 1. Shinji is really something, sticking with a cripple for 3 years. Bro, you don't get it. Maybe Iji has some weird fetish, this cripple in bed, heh. If you ask me, Jeonghee is too crafty, trapping Iji for life with one leg. Laughter echoed from the private room at the hotel, and I stood outside, clenching my fists. When the laughter stopped, Shinji's deep voice could be heard. Enough is enough. Someone feigned surprise. No way, you didn't really fall for that cripple, did you? After a pause, I heard the words, how could that be possible? What I mean is, I don't have any special fetishes. Dealing with a cripple every day is annoying. If it weren't for 3 years ago, sister-in-law, what are you doing here? The door to the room opened, and all eyes turned to me, mocking, sympathetic, but not surprised. Shinji looked momentarily flustered and guilty. He strode towards me, his tone full of blame. Don't you know your own situation? What are you doing here, sitting in my wheelchair? I faced him and silently raised my phone. You told me to come an hour earlier. Shinji had sent me a message saying he was drunk and asked me to pick him up. I was pushed into the room by Shinji, who sighed with his eyes closed. Are you happy now? The men who had just mocked me raised their hands laughing. Sorry, sister-in-law, we were just joking. Wanted to see how much you care about Iji. They said the message was sent using Shinji's phone by them, just to prove how much I loved him. Their disdain was unmistakable. I looked at Shinji blankly. He seemed to have known all along. I didn't know you would really come. He saw through my thoughts and pressed his brow helplessly. Think about it, even if I was drunk, any friend could have driven me home. What could you do by coming here? I followed his gaze to my legs. What could I do? Probably just rush out in a wheelchair after receiving the message, troubling the taxi driver to lift me into the car. Thinking back, I was really foolish, eager to be their joke, since there's nothing wrong. I'll go back first. I lowered my head and wheeled away, but someone stuck out a foot to stop me. Jeonghee, don't rush off. It's not right to leave without having a drink. Someone handed me a drink. But I'm allergic to alcohol. I looked at Shinji again, but he chose to remain silent, facing a room full of spectators. I silently took the drink. Haha, truly Jeong, holy shit. He gasped in surprise because I threw the drink in his face. You damn cripple, what are you doing? Ah. I switched on the wheelchair's electric mode and mercilessly ran over the foot that blocked my way. Behind me was a chorus of curses. But I ignored them and thoughtfully closed the door of the private room for them. 2. Shinji caught up with me, showering me with accusations. Jeonghee, don't be too much. They are all my friends. He reached out to pull me back, but I stopped him. They are your friends, but I'm your wife. Do you not see when your wife is being insulted and do nothing? Shinji pressed his lips together. A subconscious gesture that showed he knew he was at fault but was unwilling to admit it. Suddenly, I felt it was all so meaningless. I wheeled myself towards the front door. It was only when I reached the doorway that he caught up to me again. They just speak without thinking. But what they said was true. I had no interest in Shinji's lame excuses. Rubbing my moist eyes forcefully, I tried to keep my voice calm. Let's get a divorce. Shinji was stunned, immediately objecting. No, I can't divorce you. Puzzled, I looked at him. Why not? I had heard it with my own ears. He said he didn't like me. I used to deceive myself, thinking that although his friends didn't really accept me, his love was enough for me. Hearing those words today made me realize how foolish I had been. The evening breeze was chilly. Shinji took off his jacket and draped it over my legs. It's my fault. Those were just drunken, nonsensical words. Don't believe them. Anyway, we're not getting a divorce, alright. Wrapped in Shinji's mint-scented presence, I couldn't hold back my tears. He pushed my wheelchair down the bustling street. I'll take you home. As he pushed me leisurely along the night street, he seemed lost in thought, not even noticing a pothole in front of us. After I voiced a warning and he apologized, silence fell again. I hesitated before speaking. I want you to know, if it's a burden, if you don't love me, we can get a divorce. I had loved Shinji for 10 years. But that didn't mean I'd cling to him desperately. Shinji sounded unhappy. I've told you. We're not getting a divorce, Xiaohe. I closed my eyes and stopped talking, memories flooding back. 3 years ago, the moment the laboratory ceiling collapsed, I instinctively pushed Shinji out of the way. I saved him but got hit myself, losing consciousness. That day, I had planned to confess my feelings to him, to conclude my 7 years of unrequited love. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was Shinji's red eyes. Jeonghee, are you out of your mind? Who asked you to meddle? I tried to speak, but my throat was hoarsely dry. I wanted to tell him it was okay because I liked him and it was my way of repaying the kindness of the Shin family. My parents died when I was very young, and without the Shin family's help, I would have had a tough life. Trying to get out of bed to pour myself a glass of water, I realized I couldn't feel my legs. Guilt flooded Shiniji's eyes even more. He took my hand. From now on, I'll be your legs, Jiang-hee, let's get married. I must admit, at that moment, happiness overwhelmed me. Okay, Shiniji, I've actually liked you for 7 years. Shiniji tightly held my hand and said nothing, and I unconsciously ignored the reluctance in his eyes. In the morning, Shiniji had already left. There was a glass of warm milk he had left for me on the bedside table. I've been busy at the company recently, don't wait for me for dinner. I took a sip of the milk, it was sweet. I've never liked drinking sweet milk. The clattering noise outside the door was followed by a loud shout, "Sister-in-law, good morning." It was Xinyi's cousin. I sighed deeply, thinking this was truly a big problem. Xinyu Yan affectionately wrapped her arm around me, her eyes full of sarcasm. "Sister-in-law, you really know how to cause trouble for my brother." At yesterday's gathering, there were several important contacts my brother needed to win over. Your outburst really ruined him. What should we do now, sister-in-law? I looked at Xinyu Yan calmly. You can tell Xinyi to divorce me. After the rush of happiness faded, I could sometimes feel Xinyi's helplessness. He always kept a certain distance from me. His friends weren't like that with me at first. I understand that they were only speaking the words Xinyi couldn't. So, I've said more than once that if it's because of a life-saving grace, there's no need for it. We could get a divorce. But he always refused, Xinyu Yan scoffed. You don't think that my brother refuses to divorce you because he likes you, do you? She forcibly pulled me into a wheelchair, and I struggled helplessly. What could a cripple resist? She chuckled in my ear. Come on, let me show you something interesting. The interesting thing Xinyu Yan referred to was Xinyi intimately dating another girl. Through the glass window of the couple's restaurant, I saw Xinyi tenderly adjusting a stray hair from the girl's forehead. The love in his eyes was nearly overflowing. Xinyu Yan pursed her lips. See that? That's the person my brother really likes. I didn't understand. Then why doesn't he divorce me? It's not me who is clinging on, Xinyu Yan angrily said. Isn't it because you took it upon yourself to use your life-saving favor to blackmail my brother? If he divorces you, what would he become? An ungrateful person. You pretend to be generous. But isn't this all your own scheming? I don't understand why everyone thinks my saving Xinyi was a ploy. I lost my legs, but he lost his freedom. The people inside were too focused to notice me outside the window. I laughed and wheeled closer, gently tapping on the glass. Xinyu Yan didn't expect me to do that. Her face stiffened. What are you doing? It's funny, it was she who brought me here, yet she only allowed me to watch and then suffer in silence. She was too late to stop me, and the two inside noticed us. Shock, panic. Xinyi quickly appeared in front of me. Jiang-hee, let me explain. He didn't know what to say, and glared at Xinyu Yan. Who let you bring her here? Xinyu Yan pouted unhappily. I feel sorry for the real sister-in-law, especially since you two have been in love for years. I stood there dumbfounded. In love for years. But before I tried to confess, I had indirectly asked Xinyi if he had a girlfriend. He said no. Otherwise I wouldn't have mustered the courage. Jiang-hee, you go home first. Xinyi scolded Xinyu Yan, then called a car for me. Wait. I raised my hand to stop him. I want to talk to that lady inside. Jiang-hee. Xinyi frowned, clearly displeased. I gently pulled his hand. You'd better listen to me. Otherwise, I don't mind shouting about catching a mistress in public. I'm disabled, and I've seen too many strange looks over the years. I'm immune. The only ones who will be embarrassed are you. Xinyi's frown deepened, but he must care about the person inside. And the next second, he pushed me into the restaurant. Is this your wife? The one who saved you back then? The girl seemed to know me. She propped her head with one hand and smiled at me. Hello, my name is Lin Suisui. Yiji's first love. She behaved like the others, showing no malice toward me, yet it was all malicious. Yiji, why don't you take your cousin to sit over there? I'd like to have a chat with Miss Jiang. With just a few words, she took control of the situation. Xinyi and Xinyu Yan sat not far away, looking over at us with worried eyes. Miss Jiang, Lin Suisui leisurely stirred her coffee. You know, if it wasn't for you, I would have been the one marrying Yiji. I didn't know. I told her, I've never seen you in his circle. I had no idea he had a first love. Lin Suisui looked up, her eyes somewhat resentful. We were in a secret relationship because of my family background. Yiji said his family would never agree. Only Yuyan supported us quietly. We were in this secret relationship for 2 whole years, ready to confront our families about it before the accident happened. Unfortunately, you came into the picture. No wonder Shin Yuyan hated me so much when she found out I was going to marry Shiniji, but how could that be my fault? I asked him more than once if he had a girlfriend. He chose to hide it, and after the earthquake, he chose to marry me. Lin Suisui seemed to guess my thoughts and chuckled lightly. Are you curious why he insisted on marrying you? I looked up at her, my intuition telling me that the answer would not be pleasant. Because he found your secret diary of unrequited love, Jianghe. Lin Suisui's tone was bitter as she spoke. He didn't find it earlier or later, but just after you lost your legs and were unconscious, in front of the Shin family elders, and you say it wasn't intentional, Miss Jiang. My mind went blank. So he had read my diary. Shiniji initially pretended not to have seen it, but Shin's aunt saw it first. The elders meant well, I was raised in their eyes. And the Shen and Jiang families had been old friends for many years, so that day, Shin's aunt asked him, do you like Jianghe? She thought, if both had feelings, it wouldn't be bad for them to be together. Unexpectedly, Shiniji thought it was pressure from the elders. I will marry her. He gave up Lin Suisui under what he perceived as pressure and married me. So that was it. I thought about how I had excitedly opened my heart when I learned Shiniji was going to marry me. It felt like a joke. He could divorce me now. But he hasn't. That's what I couldn't understand. Lin Suisui showed a mocking smile. Because you are useful. Iji is at a critical period for a promotion. How would it look if it got out that he abandoned his lifesaver? Miss Jiang, you've already put him in a difficult position once. Don't make it hard for him a second time. Such scheming. Who knows if the death of your parents was retribution? Ah, I couldn't hold back. I threw the coffee in her face. She could say anything she wanted, but she should never have brought up my deceased parents. Jianghe, what are you doing? Shiniji quickly shielded Lin Suisui in front of him. I pointed at her. She insulted my parents. Lin Suisui was in a sorry state, tears spinning in her eyes. I didn't. I was just explaining our past to her. It was her. Shiniji looked at me angrily. Apologize. I stared at them for a long while. She laughed. Okay, before I apologize, can I say something to you? Shiniji didn't speak, which meant he agreed. Come closer. I'll only tell this to you. He walked over and slightly bent down. Slap. I slapped him with all my strength. Let's get a divorce. Shiniji's face turned utterly dark. Jianghe, I've told you, we can't get divorced, so it's about preserving your own face and reputation. But this time, I'm not willing to compromise myself for his sake. Then wait for the lawsuit. I turned my wheelchair to leave, but was forcefully pulled away from it. I was thrown to the ground. Shiniji's eyes blood red. Divorce. Who would want you when you're a cripple? I looked at him incredulously, unable to believe these were his words. Was I born a cripple? Shiniji was annoyed. Yes, you are my savior because you saved me. Please, was I begging you to save me? Did anyone ask if I wanted to? I would rather be the one disabled. Do you know how much guilt this has caused me? How much have I lost because of this grace? Do you know? He lamented the pressure he felt owing me his life. I wish you hadn't saved me. I stared at him blankly, a faint stench wafting in the air. Under the immense humiliation, I lost control. Seeing this, Shiniji quickly carried me back to the wheelchair. Look at yourself. What can you do without me now? He looked at me with disdain and covered me with his jacket. I'll take you back. You need to calm down. Shiniji called a car for me, driven by a plump middle-aged woman. He had instructed her in advance, giving her a little extra tip to help me back upon arrival. Perhaps sensing my poor mood, before leaving, she gave me an encouraging gesture. Girl, there's still hope in life. She probably thought I might consider suicide, but I won't, because just half an hour ago, I received a message from a stranger. It was a screenshot of a chat. Bro Shen, your wife is determined to divorce you. Huh. It seems you can't maintain the devoted husband act with President Gu anymore, but no worries. If one path is blocked, we can take another. Do you remember President Xi I mentioned before? He loves playing with disabled people. Jianghe fits perfectly. Since she's divorcing you anyway, you can use this chance to catch her cheating. That way, you won't have to bear the stigma of abandoning your lifesaver. Tomorrow night at 9, don't say I didn't give you a chance. He said a lot. And Shiniji's reply of okay left me completely hopeless. So cruel, blaming me for saving him, pressuring him, and still squeezing the last bit of value out of me to pave his way. I don't know who sent me this message, but whoever it was, I need to thank them. Xiaohe, I'm back. Shiniji returned, drunk as a lord. He staggered over and squatted in front of me. I'm sorry, I was a jerk during the day, can we not divorce, please? I looked at him calmly, showing a gentle smile. Okay, really, I nodded, handing him a cup of hot milk. About today, I was also at fault. Drink this milk, sober up. I booked tickets for the Maldives for tomorrow. Shall we go on a trip together? Shinji first panicked, then became bewildered. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Alright. I smiled as I handed him the milk and watched him drink it. The drug acted quickly, and Shinji collapsed to the ground unconscious as I expected. It's indeed troublesome when someone can't walk anymore. It took me a whole 2 hours to sever Shinji's legs. He woke up halfway through, and his frantic screaming forced me to stop and stuff a towel into his mouth. He shook his head wildly. I quickly reassured him, it's okay, I won't kill you, I just need your legs. After all, you don't really care for them, so why not give them to me? He made a whimpering sound, probably begging for mercy. I pasted the chat log onto his face, and he finally quieted down, left only with pain and despair. As dawn broke, I finally managed to chop off his legs, and my knife was dulled. Shinji passed out and woke up several times. After I finished, I removed the towel from his mouth, and he was barely breathing. Jiang, never mind, I stuffed it back in, I didn't want to listen. I realized too late that my life was ruined the moment I lost my legs. Since he wanted to destroy me completely, I had to destroy him first. I lit the charcoal in the room and fell asleep holding the sobbing man. It was good, at the moment of awakening, to remove a beast with a human face from this world. I didn't expect that I could still open my eyes. The numbness in my legs made me widen my eyes in shock. I was reborn, back to before the accident happened. I jumped up suddenly, startling everyone else in the lab. Junior sister, are you okay? I stared at my legs and responded perfunctorily. I was back in my second year of grad school. Initially, to get closer to Shinji, I chose the same major as him and even managed to join the same group, but then that accident made me give up my studies. Feeling the strength in my feet, I trembled with excitement. It was May 8th, 1:27 p.m., 10 minutes before the ceiling would loosen and fall. In the past, I had pushed Shinji aside to save him, but ended up getting crushed by the ceiling myself. Jiang, what's wrong? A pair of large hands touched my forehead. It was Shinji. Do you have a fever? Do you need me to help you take a leave? I instinctively avoided his hand, and there was a hurt look in his eyes. Our strange behavior caught the attention of others. Are the little couple fighting? Usually, I always followed Shinji around, and since he neither accepted nor rejected me, everyone joked and called us the little couple. No, he has a girlfriend now. I have nothing to do with him, I quickly denied, feeling unlucky to be involved with Shinji in this lifetime. Seeing how quickly I refused and even mentioned his secret girlfriend, Shinji was slightly stunned. He lowered his voice. Jiang, is there some misunderstanding between us? I looked at him and suddenly understood the weirdness between us. At this moment, Shinji did have a girlfriend, yet he was still ambiguous with me. Even unwilling to admit it now that I had pointed it out. Was he looking for a thrilling romance while not wanting to give up the benefits of my affection for him? So the person I had liked from the beginning was rotten. Be careful, a shout interrupted my thoughts. The ceiling started to fall just like in my previous life, with Shinji right in the center of it, and I was just on the edge of the falling ceiling. In my previous life, I had pushed Shinji out of the way without regard for myself. This life, I quickly ran away from the danger. Xiaohe, Shinji incredulously called out to me. The next second, the ceiling came crashing down, and after a cry of alarm, Shinji passed out of a sense of duty. I still called emergency services for Shinji. The doctor said that Shinji's legs were ruined, and from now on, he would be confined to a wheelchair. I barely managed to suppress my laughter. Jiang, why? Why didn't you save me? When Shinji awoke, his voice was hoarse and tearful, as if I had betrayed him. You could have pushed me away. I tilted my head and said, Shinji, stop pretending, I know you're back too. Before we got married, Shinji never called me Xiaohe, and just now, he was asking why I didn't save him. Caught in his act, Shinji's face turned red. He had planned to stand on moral high ground to induce my guilt. I sat next to him and gently patted his leg. Shinji, your legs are useless now. Do you remember what you told me in our past life? Was it me who begged you to save me? Did anyone ask if I was willing? I would have rather been the one disabled. I smiled at him. You didn't want to, right? Well, congratulations, you got your wish. You don't have to feel guilty because of me. Now you've just lost your legs. but you can live openly, without forcing yourself to carry unnecessary burdens." Shinji was stunned. His face a mix of colors as if a palette had been overturned. "Jiang-hee, how did I never realize you were crazy? Can't you tell when someone is just venting?" His expression matched exactly how he arrogantly claimed he didn't need my rescue in our past life. If I saved him, he blamed me. If I didn't, he still blamed me. I couldn't hold back my anger and slapped him, knowing I'm crazy and still talking back. "Want to get your legs chopped off again?" Hearing my words, Shinji suddenly shuddered. Too many things had happened in quick succession, and he had almost forgotten how he had died tragically in his past life. "I was out of my mind. I've always disliked women like you. It's better not to be forcibly tied down in this life." He was struggling to regain his dignity. 10 minutes later, Aunt Shin arrived, looking exhausted. "Iji, Uncle Shin couldn't come back from a business trip abroad, leaving her to bear this terrible news alone." "Auntie, don't be too sad, at least he's still alive." Being alive is what matters. I offered her symbolic comfort. "In our past life, she wasn't particularly bad to me, but neither was she very good. Before I married Shinji, she truly treated me like a daughter. After we were married, she did genuinely feel sorry for me, but that sympathy couldn't withstand the passage of time and her own son's size. So, when Shinji's cousin bullied me, she chose to turn a blind eye." "Jiang-hee, be careful with your words," Shinji said anxiously. He didn't want Aunt Shin to worry, but now he couldn't even turn over by himself. "Xiaohe, his father and I are busy. Thank you for taking care of Iji." Aunt Shin sobbed, holding my hand. "I know you have feelings for Iji, given the current situation." She broke down crying again. I understood her concerns. She was worried no one would want Shinji, just as she had worried about me back then. I spoke openly. "Auntie, I only see Shinji as a brother. Besides, Shinji already has a girlfriend." Aunt Shin looked incredulously at Shinji. "Is what Xiaohe said true?" Shinji pursed his lips tightly. He hadn't planned to reveal this so soon, but I had forced his hand. I thoughtfully added, "I've already notified her to come. I don't want to be the third party who breaks up a relationship. I hope you understand." As soon as she finished speaking, Lin Suisui, dressed in white, appeared at the door. Her reaction was very similar to Aunt Shin's, shocked and crying. Aunt Shin had seen Lin Suisui before and didn't really like the girl, thinking her family background, having 2 older sisters and a younger brother, was not a match for her son, given the current circumstances. Aunt Shin couldn't say much more and excused herself to go buy food. Iji, the sight of Lin Suisui, her eyes red from crying, was particularly pitiful, but Shinji avoided looking at her. "Jiang-hee, you shouldn't have called her here, with me like this. How can I?" He couldn't continue as the bedsheet showed a light yellow stain spreading. Lin Suisui instinctively took a step back, a hint of disgust in her eyes. Shinji caught this reaction, and it was a blow to his pride. "Jiang-hee." He pleaded with me with his eyes. I was unmoved. "What are you thinking? You can't possibly expect me to handle this. Your girlfriend is here. Is this appropriate?" After scolding Shinji, I turned to Lin Suisui. "Miss Lin, I've heard bits about your love story. If love means a lifetime together, then you should start learning how to care for someone with disabilities now." Under my urging and moral coercion, Lin Suisui struggled to help Shinji up. The bathroom door slammed shut. And I didn't miss the resentful look on Lin Suisui's face. I smiled, recalling when I faced adversity. They were indulging in their lofty, unattainable romance, separated by circumstances, under the pressure of daily life. Could they remain as steadfast? After briefly explaining things to Aunt Shin, I left. Shinji had his mother and his girlfriend. He certainly didn't need me, an outsider, to interfere. I resumed my normal life, attending classes, free to walk and run as I pleased. The long-lost sense of freedom was intoxicating. I heard that Shinji, stubborn as ever, was diligently undergoing rehabilitation every day, but to no avail. Aunt Shin contacted me every now and then, her words laced with dissatisfaction towards Lin Suisui. Essentially, she was not as caring or attentive to Shinji as I had been. Shinji wanted to reach out to me, but unfortunately, I had blocked all his contacts. 3 months later, while dining with my fellow students, I unexpectedly ran into Shinji and his group. Lin Suisui was pushing Shinji's wheelchair, both of their faces looking grim. Lin Suisui was busy scolding Shinji, unaware of my presence. "What are you doing here as a cripple? Isn't that embarrassing?" Her tone of disdain starkly contrasted the gentle demeanor she used to show. It's no wonder Lin Suisui lost her temper. I had discreetly learned that the romantic love Shinji thought they shared was a long-planned scheme by Lin Suisui. Coming from a poor family, she hoped to change her fate by marrying a man with a wealthy background and not too much intellect. Shinji had appeared at just the right time, but unfortunately, he had been intercepted by me in his previous life. As for this life, feeling despised, Shinji's face turned red. If I don't come, how would I know what you and your friends say about me? Lin Suisui scoffed, that you're a cripple. A man who's no good anymore. Are they wrong? Look at yourself. I even have to help you use the bathroom. What else are you good for? If it weren't for getting away from that family, who would want to be with a cripple like you? Shinji trembled. What are you saying? Lin Suisui ignored his murderous gaze. If I had known how troublesome it is to care for a cripple, I would have chosen a different target from the start. Shinji roared, let's get a divorce. It's good that the wedding hasn't happened yet. It turned out they were already legally married. It seemed Aunt Shin knew her son's situation too well and no longer allowed him to be choosy. Lin Suisui punched him without any courtesy. Divorce? Do you think I don't want that? Serving you for 3 months almost made me sick. If it weren't for your damn mother, do you think I'd willingly marry you? Once the demure facade was removed, she showed her true, fierce colors. Yet, such a person is a perfect match for Shinji. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, and they finally noticed me. Seeing me, Lin Suisui quickly dismissed Shinji like a hot potato. Perfect timing. Take your brother away. Originally, when Shinji and Lin Suisui were secretly dating, he always introduced me as his sister. Lin Suisui glanced coldly at Shinji. I'm going back to the party. Don't cause me any more trouble. Lin Suisui walked away without looking back, leaving me and Shinji face to face. What he's experiencing now is exactly what I went through back then. Shinji, do you remember what your friends used to say about me? Shinji turned his head away, his body trembling imperceptibly. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I cut him off. You knew everything. It's just that you didn't care because it wasn't happening to you. Come on, don't be upset. If you ask me, Lin Suisui is actually quite decent to you. She just scolds you a bit. She didn't hand you over to some old man with peculiar tastes, right? I meant to comfort him, but his face turned paler. No, Xiaohe, listen to me. I didn't mean to really hurt you. I had everything arranged. I had scented incense burning in the room in advance. He would have passed out before he could touch you, and the next day you just had to pretend. He was frantically explaining until he saw my icy, piercing gaze. Actually, by that time I had already started to fall for you. Slap. I slapped him with all my might, feeling that one slap wasn't enough. I hit him several more times. Jianghe, Shinji was shocked and angry, but now he couldn't fight back. I held back my anger. How dare you talk about love? Sending me to another man is love. Letting your friends insult me is love. Cheating is love. You don't love me. You just realized that your first love doesn't care about you anymore since you're disabled. And all you wanted was someone who is completely devoted to you. Do you think someone as selfish as you deserves to talk about love? From that day on, Shinji never came looking for me again. My days became more carefree, and occasionally when people mentioned Shinji, they said he was not doing well. I heard Lin Suisui was decent to Shinji in front of Aunt Shin, but behind his back, she did nothing but beat and scold him. I guess Shinji must really love Lin Suisui. To endure such treatment without a word, Shin Yuyan called me a few times, treating me like a confidant. That Lin Suisui, I used to think she was kind and gentle, but she turned out to be so malicious. Jianghe, it would have been great if you had married my cousin. I just laughed. Don't talk nonsense. Shinji and I are like siblings. On the other end of the phone, Shin Yuyan pouted. You're not really siblings. Aunt just took care of you for a few years. You're not even on the same family register. Jianghe, why don't you disrupt the marriage? It's set for the beginning of next month. Hearing her say this, my eyelids twitched. In a moment of clarity, I remembered that before my marriage to Shinji, Shin Yuyan hadn't been so malicious toward me. After I married Shinji, she suddenly changed, becoming closer to Lin Suisui instead. Now that Lin Suisui was marrying Shinji, could it be, seemingly casual? I asked. Yuyan, you don't happen to like. Before I could finish, she repeatedly denied over the phone. How could that be? How could I possibly like my cousin? After a long silence, Shin Yuyan hesitantly said, well, maybe a little, but he's my direct cousin. It definitely can't happen. So I want to find a good sister-in-law for my cousin, Jianghe. Won't you really consider my brother? I smiled, brushing off the question as I saved the recording. I'll be there. Shin Yuanyan let out an excited cheer. A month later, I showed up at the wedding venue. When I arrived at the wedding, Shiniji was being pushed out by Lin Suesu to greet the guests. Feeling humiliated, Shiniji gritted his teeth. Did you really have to bring me along? Lin Suesu slapped the back of his head. Shut up or I'll rip your mouth apart. Their relationship had deteriorated to this extent. It was only thanks to Aunt Shin's desire to torment Lin Suesu that they were still getting married. When Shiniji was well, she would never have allowed someone of Lin Suesu's background near her son, but now that Shiniji was disabled, no well-matched family wanted their daughter to marry him. Aunt Shin initially preferred me as her daughter-in-law, but a few months ago, Shiniji was determined to be with Lin Suesu. And she couldn't ask me to take over anymore. Lin Suesu's family loved money, right? Aunt Shin simply gave them 300,000 in one go to buy Lin Suesu. After taking the money, her family happily handed over Lin Suesu's household registration book. Initially, Lin Suesu, motivated by money, was willing to care for Shiniji. Only after being tricked into marriage did she realize she was sold to the Shin family. And Aunt Shin wouldn't give her a penny more. Divorce. Don't even think about it. Isn't it a love that shakes the heavens? Then lock it down. Shiniji saw me. He looked at me from afar, his gaze lingering on my legs, showing longing. Aunt Shin never showed up. It was a blatant slap in the face to Lin Suesu. But I didn't understand. Had the Shin family also given up on Shiniji? Sitting at the relatives' table, Shin Yuanyan saw me and quietly gave me an okay sign. This was her plan. In the middle of the wedding, she planned to reveal all the moments Shiniji and I shared over the years. According to her, Shiniji had feelings for me, and he would surely regret and possibly cancel the wedding publicly when the time came. This way, not only could the wedding be disrupted, but Lin Suesu's face could also be slapped hard. However, she conveniently omitted that this would also put me in an embarrassing situation. Her calculations were too loud, and I had to quietly make a few adjustments. Hey! Isn't this Shiniji's little follower? A familiar voice. I turned around and saw his brother who used to make things difficult for me by Shiniji's side. Look at that gaze. Still can't forget the disabled. Huh, you don't have some special fetish, do you? His words were frivolous, disrespecting both me and Shiniji. If Zhou Hao doesn't want to eat this meal, then get out. Shiniji appeared beside me at some point. Rebuking his former brother, Zhou Hao looked at us contemptuously. You still think you are someone, seeing you disabled, I pity you. Let me tell you, your dad has already brought your 12-year-old half-brother home. I was surprised to hear that the Shin family still had an illegitimate child. It seemed that Uncle Shin had given up on Shiniji, and as for Aunt Shin, never mind. Zhou Hao, get out. Shiniji was on the verge of rage, but unfortunately, he couldn't stand up to hit him. Instead of leaving, Zhou Hao casually sat down. Get out, Shiniji. What are you causing now? Lin Suesu came over and kicked Shiniji's disabled leg angrily. Aren't I embarrassed enough today? Lin Suesu then started hitting and scolding Shiniji. Forget it, sister-in-law. Give some face to young Master Shin in public. Zhou Hao laughed loudly. Besides, an old lover is here, he said, turning his gaze towards me. I didn't want to create a scene now, but Zhou Hao was just too despicable. In this life as he was in the last. I grabbed a bottle of red wine from the table and splashed it at him, warning him in his stunned gaze. How you insult Shiniji is your business, but keep your mouth clean about me, otherwise, I don't mind exposing all the shady things you've done behind the scenes to the Shin family. Take for example, President Lin's preferences. In my past life, Zhou Hao loved to introduce various types of girls to those executives with deviant tastes. President Lin was one of those favors he found for Shinyi. When I mentioned President Lin, Zhou Hao instantly became as docile as a quail. Xiaohe, Xinyi's voice choked as he called out to me. I'm sorry, I really didn't know how hard life would be after becoming disabled. His confession was suddenly interrupted by the big screen turning on. I saw Shin Yuanyan stand up excitedly. 23, Jianghe. Why don't you go and stop the wedding? It's set for early next month. Yuanyan, you wouldn't like. How could I possibly like my cousin? Okay, it's a bit, but he's my cousin. It's definitely impossible. That's why I want to find a good sister-in-law for my cousin. Though no images were shown on the screen, my conversation with Shin Yuanyan was clearly heard by everyone. The already chaotic wedding became even more disorderly. Shin Yuanyan screamed for the playback to be stopped, and Lin Suisui stepped forward aggressively and started hitting her. She was cursing loudly, and several people couldn't stop her. I couldn't help but marvel. Indeed, how could a girl raised in a rural family with a preference for sons over daughters be a delicate flower? Thinking back to our conversation in the restaurant, how tranquil and content she appeared, it all seemed so ironic to me. I quietly left the scene amidst the chaos, with Shinyi's calls echoing behind me. 24. I heard about what happened next from others, after Shin Yuanyan's disgraceful intentions were exposed. Her parents confronted her brother in a huge argument. They believed it must have been something Shinyi did that led Shin Yuanyan to develop inappropriate feelings. Already disappointed in Shinyi, Uncle Shin completely gave up on him. Even Aunt Shin reluctantly abandoned her own son. Thankfully the mother of his illegitimate child had passed away. They could just treat him as their own son and nurture the relationship. Lin Suisui was on the verge of madness, her reputation destroyed, and known as a shrew. She wanted a divorce, but the Shin family wasn't going to let her go. They blamed her for ruining their son. If it weren't for her seducing Shinyi, he and I would have been a couple. Given my feelings for Shinyi, how could I not have saved him in that accident? If anyone had to lose a leg, let it be me, and let Shinyi marry me. Such an opportunity for good publicity was naturally welcomed by the Shin family. Their scheming was meticulous, and my last shred of sympathy for the Shin family vanished. 25. Half a year later, Shinyi committed suicide. Before dying, he took Lin Suisui with him. It was said that Lin Suisui had connected with Zhou Hao, who quietly introduced Shinyi to some old men with peculiar tastes. Afterwards, when Shinyi woke up, he completely lost his mind. He cried admitting his mistakes, saying he had been blinded back then, while cursing Lin Suisui to a terrible fate. In his delirium, he spoke of changing time once more. Determined to choose Jianghe this time, he hired someone to sneak into his house and replace Lin Suisui's usual health supplements with sleeping pills. While Lin Suisui was asleep, he set the house on fire, burning himself and her together. 26. After Shinyi's death, I received a letter. It was sent by Shinyi, presumably filled with unproductive confessions. I didn't even bother to open the envelope, throwing it straight into the trash. Starting over, impossible. Heaven doesn't grant wicked people another chance, and even if it did, no matter how many times we repeated, I would never waver for him again. I have clear life goals, and I will only strive to better myself.